What's up, everyone? Welcome to Everything Guitar. I am Ben France, your host of this weekly deep dive into the world of the guitar. If this is your first visit to the channel or to the Everything Guitar series, feel free to go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. That way you can get notified when new videos come out. Oh, and ring the bell, obviously, so you can be notified directly when new videos come out. Also, if you find this video to be useful, helpful, fun, entertaining, funny, any or all of the above, feel free to go ahead and give me a thumbs up on this video. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive into episode 13, starting with the news. Alright, so this week on the news, a little bit different. I wanted to highlight the Great Guitar Build-Off 2020. If you're not familiar with this event, this is a yearly event that's put on by a number of sponsors, Crimson Guitar being one of the signature sponsors, where a number of different luthiers on social media, Instagram, YouTube, and the like, all enter into a contest to build a custom guitar based off of a guitar kit, with all of the proceeds from this going to charity. What happens essentially, a number of different luthiers get together, they all build their variations on a guitar based on a guitar kit, and then they put those guitars on eBay to auction. 100% of the proceeds of the auctions go to charity, and people are able to vote for their favorite guitar, favorite design, so on and so forth. So let's jump over the screen and let's take a look at a little bit of information on it. We'll see here on GuitarWorld.com, it says the Great Guitar Build-Off provided luthiers with a kit to create any electric they wanted, and the results are insane. Vote to determine the winner of the charity-based competition now. So here's some pictures. You'll see it says, do you love a good and sometimes bonkers electric guitar? Then feast your eyes on the Great Guitar Build-Off 2020, a competition featuring 8 luthiers doing their best to one-up each other and raise money for a variety of charities in the process. Rules for the build-off, sponsored by the UK's Crimson Guitars, were simple. Each luthier built from the same base kit within a limited time frame, with a finished guitar being auctioned off with 100% of the proceeds going to the charity of the builder's choice. Crimson provided the luthiers kits used in the competition, and the contest was free of rules, allowing each builder to decide how to customize and complete their guitar, which is how instruments like Texas Toast Guitar's 3-necked electric, which we saw up there at the top, came into existence. The participants in the competition included Ben Crow, master luthier and CEO of Crimson Guitars, Derek Lennard of Chicago's Big D Guitars, Texas Toast Guitars' Matt Flaherty, Philip McKnight of the Know Your Gear YouTube channel, and Gove Guitars' Brad Angove, New York-based designer, builder, maker, and teacher Jimmy DiResta, 3x3 Customs' Tamar Hanna, and Guns N' Guitars YouTuber Dan Thompson. So the Great Guitar Build-Off is going to be a dogfight, shop versus shop, and lots of techniques going head-to-head, says Texas Toast Guitars' Flaherty. Voting runs through September the 12th, so it is still going for a couple more days. Actually, is ending today, the day that this episode will air. And the winner will be announced around September the 26th. You also see a link here on the Guitar World link that says for more info and to check out the videos of each luthier's creation, head to the Great Guitar Build-Off. So we will jump over to that page, and you'll see there's a link to vote for your favorite guitar here. But there are a number of pictures that you see here. It gives you some info letting you know who's involved. There's a video that gives you some information on the competition, some information on the rules and how they work, and the charities that causes the money is being edited. The charities the money are being raised for through the various builds, and there's some contact information here as well. Also, you'll see at the top of the link, most importantly, there's a link where you can click on that says to vote for your favorite guitar here. So if we click on that page, then we see pictures of a variety of the builders and their guitars, including Derek Lennard from Big D's really pretty flame top guitar, and Jimmy DiResta's guitar, Brad Angove's crazy looking custom shaped guitar, Ben Crow from Crimson Guitars' crazy looking guitar, and of course Matt's just insanely bonkers triple neck guitar there. So, if you are interested in supporting a great cause, also checking out some super cool custom-built guitars, jump over to thegreatguitarbuildoff.com and take a look at that. Like I said, voting on the contest does close today on September the 12th, but you can go ahead and check out the builds, see some of those things, and maybe jump off onto some of the luthier's individual pages from there, even if you missed the chance to vote. Alright, this week on the mini guitar lesson, I thought we would continue our exploration into different chord shapes by looking at major and minor ninth chords, not to be confused with add 9 chords. We'll talk about those at a later time. So if you want to brush up on your basic chord theory before you go into these extended chord options that we're going to talk about today, you can jump all the way back to, I believe, episode 4 of Everything Guitar. I'll put the link up here, where you can check out how we build major triads. And then I believe episode 5 covered how to build minor triads, and I'll put that link up here as well. Today are some variations on those chords. We've also covered major and minor 7th chords. Link to that here. So what is a 9th chord? Well, a 9th chord, as it sounds like from there, is moving right up the scale. We had major, we had minor, we had major 7, and we had minor 7. And so now today we're going to talk about major and minor 9th chords. So how do we build these chords? Well, let's start by reviewing some basic theory way back from episode 1 and 2 of Everything Guitar. So episode 1, we learned the major scale, which is built this way. We're going to use the example of C. So these are the notes in the C major scale. Those notes by name are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And if you recall from that episode, we also talked about those are named by numbers, which would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then our 8, which is an octave of our first note, a C to C. So we've got 7 notes there. So to build a 9th chord, what we do is we have to include all the notes that are rang out in a chord below number 9. Now, the first thing you may be wondering, you may say, but Ben, you just said those notes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What's a 9? Well, if you remember, we just said that our 8 is an octave higher than our root note or our 1. Pardon me. So, think of your scale as an ever-rotating number, and every time you go up an octave or you start your scale over, you continue to count by numbers. So if we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is 8, is our C again, then our 9 would be going straight up the pattern. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So obviously we went way up there, way beyond what we're talking about today on the 9ths. But our 9th, let's review that again. 8, or octave of the root, and 9. So in this case, our 9 is a D. You'll also notice that is the same thing as our 2 note, only it's an octave higher. So whenever you see a number that is with a number 9 or higher, referring to a scale or referring to a chord, basically, you can take that, you can subtract the number 7 from it, and that gives you your note that you're playing. But just keep in mind that you always play it an octave higher. I probably made that very confusing there, so let's talk through that again. If you see the number 9, your scale started back over or rebooted with number 8, meaning if we're in C, as a 1, our root, the number 8 is a reboot, so we're back in C again, only an octave higher. So that means 9, our next note, is going to be the second note and that second octave up, or a D. So, how do we form a chord like that? Well, like I said before, we use all the tones up to and including 9 that are used to form chords in that. So, if you remember once again, going back to those major triads back in episode 4, in a C major is made of 3 notes. It's made of the root, which is a C, the 3rd, which is an E, and the 5th, which is a G. Also, we've learned not too long ago that on a 7th, it would be the 7th note in the scale, which to play a 7th chord, so in the key of C, that'd be a B. C7. So if we want to add a 9th, we need to add a D in there. Now that starts getting very convoluted as far as the number of notes, because we're talking 5 notes. C, E, D, B, and, pardon me, C, E, G, B, and D. So to build a 9 chord, typically what we'll do is we're going to drop the 5th out because the tonality of the 5th is implied in the sound of the chord, meaning that if we're playing a C, most of our ears know that a C chord sounds like this. That's a C5, root, 5th. So if we want to play a 9th chord, we'll typically drop out the 5th for ease of fingering, and we'll play the root, the 3rd, the 7th, and the 9th. So how do we play that? Well, playing that with our root note on the 5th string, it would look like this form. For C, we'd have our middle finger on the 3rd fret of string 5. That gives us our root, our C. We'd have our first finger on fret 2 of the 4th string. That gives us our 3rd, or our E. We skip our 5th. Remember, we said we're going to leave that out because that's implied. So we're going to go then to our 7th, which our 7th is a B, or is the note B, not to make it confusing. So we'll play that as our pinky finger on the 4th fret of string number 3. So root, 3rd, 7. And our 9th, remember, is a D, because it's our 2nd, C, D, only an octave higher. So we would play this D, the 3rd fret on string 2, with our 3rd finger. So there is a C9 chord. And remember, we've talked before that if we just say the letter of the chord, the assumption, it's implied that it's a major chord. So when I say a C9 chord or a C9th, that means it is a C major 9 chord. Now, one nice thing about this form of the 9 chords is that this is a movable shape, meaning, since you see we're not playing any open strings here, we're playing these 4 middle strings, C, E, B, D. We can move that anywhere up the fretboard as long as we keep that same pattern. We've got root note, a fret below on the next string down, a fret above the next string down, and then a fret below that on the next string down. That gives us a major 9. So that means we can move that anywhere we want. If we move that up to the 10th fret, remember this is a G, so that gives us a G9. So C9. Now let's also take a look at G. To follow our chords we've been learning, we've always been doing the C chord, typically the C chord and then the G chord. So we're kind of staying consistent as we're learning different chord shapes, different chord tonalities. We're still staying with C and G. Keep in mind though, these theories and the formulas to build these chords apply to any chord. So it doesn't matter if you're doing an F sharp or a C flat or a D flat or a G sharp. The same theory applies. To make a 9th chord, you'll typically drop out that 5th note. You will add your 7th and you will add your 9th to that to make it a major 9th chord. So let's look at this down then a string. Let's look at this with a root down on the 6th string. All right, so to build a G major 7th, let's take a look at that formula. Start out, let's go back and let's look at our scale. If you remember correctly, our format for a major scale is like this. Notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or octave of 1. So to build a G major 9, what we would do is we would start by, we'd have our root, 3rd fret, 6th string, middle finger, our G. We have our 3rd, which is 2nd fret, 5th string, 1st finger, a B. We have our 7th. Our 7th, remember, is so we skipped the 5th, remember, so our 7th is an F sharp. We play that as 4th fret, 4th string with our pinky. And then we need a 9, which remember 9 is an octave of our 2. Well, if our 2 in this is an A, then we need an octave higher A. Well, we can't really do that guy, but we do have an A here. So it would be G, B, F sharp, and then A barred the same finger, 1st finger, 2nd fret on the 3rd string that's playing our B. So like this. Once again, that is another movable chord shape that we can move around the fretboard. So that's our G9. We can move it up 2 steps. We could have an A9 then. We can move it all the way up to the 10th fret and have a D9. Or all the way to the 12th and have an E9. So far we've learned major 9th chords. We've learned that on the 5th string, which is this form. And we've learned it on the 4th string, which is this form, or on the 6th string, pardon me, which is this form. Feel free to experiment around with those. Look at putting your root onto the 4th string and see where you can make a C with that. Keep in mind you need to know your notes. So you've got your 1st, your 3rd, your 7, and your 9 in the major scale. 1, 3, 7, 9. You could build that, since you need 4 notes, you could build that starting with your root on the 4th string. Also, if you wanted to get really involved, you could go back to the episode we did, I believe a couple episodes back, where we talked about chord inversions, and you could start doing inversions of those 9th chord, meaning that your lowest note isn't your C in this case. Your lowest note could be your 3rd, and then you could build on top of it from there. So now, let's take a look at minor 9 chords. Now, first thing we want to look at is we want to go back and we want to look at our minor triads. So if you recall, way back on episode, I believe it was 5, we learned how to build a minor triad. And C, even though this was an unusual form, the C minor triad is C, E flat, D. So that's our C minor triad. So root, 3rd, 5th. So now if we want to build a C minor 9, there's an easy trick and an easy way to do this. What you can do, you stay with your form that you had originally, your C major 9, which was this guy, remember? There, 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 there. What you'll do is you'll slide down your 3rd, so in this case your E goes down to an E flat or D sharp. And you will also slide down your 7, which in this case is the B, goes down to a B flat. So, C major 9 notes are C, E, B, D. To make it a C minor 9, slide your 1st finger down 1 fret, slide your pinky down 1 fret. C minor 9. C major 9. C minor 9. Okay. So, and once again, same thing as the other chord shapes. These are movable. So we can take that G minor 9, or that G major 9. We can slide down our 1st finger and our pinky and make it a G minor 9. That gets a little cramped there on the 10th fret. So, just to take a major 9 chord and make it into a minor 9 chord, remember you take your 3rd and you flat it, you lower it 1/2 step or 1 fret. You take your 7th and you flat it, lower it 1/2 step or 1 fret as well. So that covers major and minor 9th chords. Feel free to throw those into your writing to add some flavor and some spice and some different sounds to the riffs that you write. As opposed to just listen to the difference, as opposed to doing a straight C major, G major. Or strumming patterns. That sounds good, but it's pretty common sounding. If you do something like 9th chords instead, you get something like... a totally different flavor. So I encourage you to experiment with those chords. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to always put them down in the comments below. I always make sure to read those comments and try to respond directly to each question as quickly as possible. All right, so that's it for Everything Guitar episode 13. I hope you found this episode to be useful, fun, funny, entertaining, helpful, any or all of the above. Once again, if you're new to the channel and you would like to come back to see more content, feel free to go ahead and click the subscribe button down below, and don't forget to ring the bell for notifications so you'll know when new episodes come out. In addition to my Everything Guitar series that I do every Saturday with new episodes being released, I do release other videos periodically throughout the week that are guitar and or general music related content as well. Additionally, you can follow me on my other socials on Instagram. Pretty much across the board, all of my social media is at Benjamin France Music, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, any or all of the above. TikTok, just search for Benjamin France Music and you will find me there. So, hope you all have a great day. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week for episode 14 of Everything Guitar. Take care, everyone. Bye. In the episode. You got to end an episode, you have to end it. Someday it has to end, and now's as good as any to end it. So we end it, and it's ended, and we stop.